Enid Plainsmen Football 2015.
Hey, we're all putting gas on today.
Plainsmen Football, getting it done. Plainsmen Football, where preparation is repetition.
Ready to go.
Enid Plainsmen Football, we don't get tired. Plainsmen Football, effort, technique, and how we treat one another.
Those are the things we're going to be great at. If people look at videos, they're going to see those three things.
Now, from the Enid Television Network studios, here's head coach Steve Hayes with Steve Kime.
Wrap up. Good tackle.
Hello again and welcome to Enid Plainsmen Football. I'm Steve Kime along with Coach Steve Hayes. Thank you for joining us. It's a real privilege to bring you kind of a recap of the Friday night game. Last Friday, Coach, it was cool. We had a cold front come through, I think, on Thursday night. It was fall weather, low humidity, and I'm on the sidelines watching everybody warm up, and I thought, this is Friday night football.
Beautiful night for a game.
It was a beautiful night. Well, Sand Springs came to town and then they left with a 33-7 victory last Friday in the homecoming game. And overall, Coach, the bystander here on the sideline watching, I thought the Plainsmen played better compared to last week. I think there was improvement. Your assessment of the game?
You know, the score probably wasn't a good indicator of how much we've improved and how well the kids played, especially on defense. You know, I felt like we gave up 14 points offensively to them because of two big turnovers on our end of the field. You know, that makes it a 19-7 game. Sand Springs, I think, is a very quality opponent. They returned several kids from a state semifinalist last year, eight defensively, and several their key players on offense. And so they were a really good test. I still think offensively we're making too many mistakes. Defensively we improved tremendously, but still we gave up a couple big plays there late in the game when it was still pretty competitive as well. And so we've got some room to continue to improve, obviously, but we are making progress.
So as a coach, you've said here in the last couple of weeks, you know, that we're still making these mistakes on offense. So as a coach and your entire staff, how are you addressing that during the week? For the viewer saying, okay, they're going to be practicing, they're going to be working on, but how do you as a coach go about making those improvements?
We have 4 offensive game goals that we go into each game with, and one of those goals is that less than 12% of our offensive snaps consist of one of the 4 plays: a turnover, a sack, a drop pass, or a penalty. When you look at our game last Friday night, and we went and evaluated the video, 44% of our plays had either a turnover, sack, drop pass, or penalty. And those are killers. And so, you know, we identify the kids that were involved in those 4 types of plays, and we specifically work on improvement with those specific kids in those areas, whether it be lining up off sides, dropping a ball, not taking care of the football and giving it to the opponent, those type of things. And so I think you get real specific in your coaching with specific kids and the things that they're struggling with. And that's how we looked at it this weekend. That's how we plan practice this week, is to address specifically those things and get that percentage down to 12%.
Very pleasant football evening, weather-wise. After the end of the first quarter, it's 14-0. What's your thought and your coaching? Because I see all the interaction that's going on with the student athletes and all your coaches. 14-0 after the first quarter. What's your thoughts?
You know, the one drive they had was a great drive on their part. The other points was a turnover on our 12-yard line, put the defense in a bind. I think, you know, obviously we talked about last week, we have not started games well. We've got to fix that. You know, we've got to get over our nerves. We've got to quit blaming the fact that we're a youthful football team. And we've got to come out ready to make plays and do things we need to do to get on the board immediately. I think scoring on the first couple drives is critically important. Scoring in the first quarter is critically important. I think that motivates your defense to play harder. So we're just going to keep working at proving what we're doing.
One of the things that just brought some excitement into the stadium, I believe, before halftime was the drive that the Plainsmen have, and everybody's thinking, we need to score, we need to score. And I think it's like 1:40 to go in the second quarter just before halftime. Then you have Colton Troxel throw the ball to, I believe, Brian Banks for the touchdown, 1:40 to go just before halftime, makes it 20-7. That was a real momentum builder, right? I mean, you're feeling good at that time.
It was, and it was a very athletic play by Colton. He got flushed out of the pocket.
Yes.
Brian did a good job of rerouting, finding an open area in the back of the end zone. It was a nice throw, nice catch. Just a good play, good drive. We overcame a couple penalties in that drive to go ahead and finish the drive. They did a couple things to help extend the drive. Real interesting football on that drive, and I think both teams made some mistakes. We just happened to be able to overcome them and get some points out of that. Felt that was very important going in at halftime to get those points on the board. We felt like if we come out at half, stop them defensively, and then get another touchdown, make it 20-14, and now we have a ball game. We're within one score, and we're competing.
Well, I know it certainly made a difference, even folks in the stands,
Sure.
that the enthusiasm or the excitement of the homecoming game, we got that score just before halftime, and sure in the locker room, but also, Coach, in the stands, there was that enthusiasm.
You bet.
You mentioned turnover several times today, and again, they proved costly once again with the late fumble, and that added all these really scores that were unnecessary.
Yes. I like that term, unnecessary scoring. I like
unnecessary scoring.
I may adopt that. I may adopt
Feel free to use it.
Yeah.
Is practice the way to just work on these turnovers? I don't want to simplify it because I know there's so many ingredients.
It really, the turnovers happen for a variety of reasons. Maybe a kid is not carrying the ball correctly.
Yeah.
Maybe the snap is not good. Maybe we don't protect well and a kid gets hit in the mesh. There was one time late in the game where Devin Pratt got hit in the backfield in the mesh, and I was really, it was amazing that we didn't fumble the ball there because, boy, they hit him right as he was taking the handoff. He did a great job of hanging on to the football. Really a positive play for him, and that we didn't get a turnover, not a positive play, and that we cut that guy loose and allowed him to make contact in the backfield. And so it really depends. Was a turnover a result of the offensive line not blocking, the snap being good, us not handling the ball correctly as far as our ball exchanges between quarterback and running back, or a kid not carrying the ball correctly? And so we have to coach all those things up. We really do. We have to make sure that we're helping the kids to be the best they can be in every one of those areas.
So at halftime, what is the conversation to the players?
Yeah, I think at halftime we came in with a lot of momentum. That was very upbeat. The kids really felt like that they could be successful. And it was a matter of the things that we had done that kept us from being successful were largely our fault, and therefore we needed to correct those. I think the way our defense came out and played to start the third quarter really was reflective of that. Had two great defensive series, one that forced them all the way back. I think they drove down about our 20-yard line, and we ended up taking over possession on their end of the field because of the job the defense done. We got a sack, and then had a bad snap on a punt. And, boy, we're in great shape there. Middle of the third quarter, it's 20-7. We have the ball on about their 45-yard line, 1st and 10, to start a new series, and really felt like that was a critical point in the game that as a team, if we're going to be good, we've got to take advantage of that. In that moment, we've got to make it a ball game. We've got to go 45 yards, score a touchdown, make it a 20-14 ball game, and now it's a whole different game.
Whole different game.
Whole different game.
Well, besides the late scores that just kind of padded to that score, it really wasn't a reflection of the effort of the game.
Yes.
You're back in the locker room, game's over. What's your discussion with your players at that time?
I think it was twofold. One was we did talk about the ways that we had improved and how much more we competed. I thought we did a much better job of competing and playing hard and battling till the end. And we visited about that, and then we also visited about at some point in time you've got to make a decision to fix your mistakes. If you know what the right thing to do is and you know how to do it correctly, you've got to make the choice to do it correctly, consistently, and with discipline. And so that'll really be our emphasis this week, is the discipline to do things correctly over and over again.
Our special guest each week is Coach Steve Hayes, head football coach of the Enid Plainsmen, and we'll have more with Coach Hayes in just a moment. We have a new segment that we want to introduce to you in just a moment. It's called Inside the Game, and we'll be back with Inside the Game right after this.
Water break!
Hi, I'm Steve Keim, and welcome back to Enid Plainsmen Football. And this segment is called Inside the Game. As you can see, this young man next to me I would say, large stature young man next to me is Coach Kareem Sears. Coach, welcome to Enid Plainsmen Football 2015. Thank you. Appreciate you being here on the set today.
Thank you for having me.
So you're the defensive line coach.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
You seem kind of mild-mannered, soft-spoken. I'm just not sure I can see that connection. But just seriously, I've seen you with the young men out on the practice field, and I know that you have defense inside the heart. That's for sure. Tell us a little bit about your role as a defensive coach.
I am the defensive line coach. I work with the defensive ends a lot, but I work with the interior boys too. I just try to keep them hungry, mean, nasty, aggressive. And I also on the game nights I do the dummy calls for the DC.
Okay. Well, for our viewers this morning, you're from Enid.
Yes,
You're an Enid product.
Yes.
And then you left the country. You left Enid, and you went to a small school up in Lincoln, Nebraska, right?
Yes.
Play college ball up there with
Yes,
a guy that you may have heard of, Tom Osborne. You may have heard that name. Mm-hmm. So you left Enid and you went and played. So you were a Cornhusker. Tell us about that experience at Nebraska.
It was probably one of the best experiences of my life, but it all started here in Enid. At that time, the years I was playing, we played the same style of defense. We practiced pretty much like a college-type style practice. And so being here at Enid High prepared me to go up north. And when I watched their first practice, I felt like I was already at home because that's what I already do. Yeah. And, winning the national title, playing some great opponents, it was just, you can't really talk about how it felt. It's just, it was a great feeling.
Our special guest today is the defensive coach, Kareem Sears, and for Inside the Game, Coach Hayes. What question do you have for our defensive coach here?
Kareem,
put him on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like our defensive line played quite a bit better this week compared to our performance against Ponca City. Where do you feel like we improved the most over the last week, getting into the game Friday night?
I think we improved. First off, not jumping off sides. That's something that we worked on hard all week. And when the boys did jump off sides in practice, we had a certain task for them to do. And I think that paid off a lot for them. It gave them a little bit more confidence, and they were all go the entire game. When I watched film and graded film, the boys were all around the piles, even if the pile was 20 yards down the field. All the boys were there. And I think that's very important in interior play because you never know what's going to happen. That ball could come out, you could be chasing after the play and scoop up that fumble, and game changer.
Yeah, I felt like our swarm or our hustle grade was much better this week.
Yes, it was.
Much better this week. So what do you feel like are the things that we need to really focus on for improvement going into our next game against Bartlesville?
I think there were times that we hesitated when we got certain formations, but I think the boys are starting to get it a little bit more. And from watching film already on our next opponent, I feel that we have the capability to get a good pass rush, a real good pressure. I feel their tackles aren't as strong as the other tackles were, and I think my ends could get a lot of havoc this week.
Good.
Create a lot of havoc this week.
Big games for defense.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
That's good. That's good.
Very good. Well, Coach, thanks for joining us here on Plainsmen Football 2015.
It's great to be here.
Appreciate the opportunity to look a little bit inside the game. Inside the game, find out a little bit about lean, mean, hungry. What else did you call?
Nasty.
Nasty. Okay. You heard it from this guy, not me. Okay. This is that's his call for that. Anyway, Coach, wish you the best. Thank you for your contribution to the program here, and also for the investment that you're placing personally in the lives of young people here in Enid.
It's my pleasure.
So Coach Kareem Sears, defensive line coach, and that's our guest on Inside the Game. We'll have another segment for you right after this. Welcome back to Enid Plainsmen Football 2015. Thank you for joining us. We look forward each week, Coach Hayes and I, to really just bring you the inside scoop, if you will, on what Enid Plainsmen Football is all about, and also kind of a recap of the previous Friday night game. Well, our special guest now is Gates Burris. Gates is a senior at Enid High School. Gates, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit just about yourself. Besides the senior, what else are you involved in?
I work multiple hours at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I just mainly play football and hang around with family. I don't really do much outside of school.
Your academic interests are where? Yeah, science, math.
I'm really good at history.
The lunchroom. You know, which
just history. History and science.
History and science. Very good. Well, Coach, he's all yours.
Gates, talk a little bit about what you think you want to do once you graduate from high school. I know you got a pretty good plan, which is impressive.
Well, I'm going to start off rooming with a friend of mine, and we're going to go to Votech Autry and take this heating and air conditioning course. And after that, I'm going to save up some money and go to Northwestern Oklahoma State for criminal justice to be a highway patrolman. That's about it.
I think that's great that you already have such a well-defined goal for your education. I think that's how it all starts. That's really good. So talk to me about top 2 things you enjoy about playing football.
I've played it ever since I was little. It's fun, keeps me in shape, and lets me take out my aggression on other people.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. So how do you feel about going into the Bartlesville game this week?
I feel pretty confident. We should come back with the win. As long as we can control the ball better on offense, we'll be okay.
I agree. It comes from a defensive lineman, but he's exactly right. I agree. So what do you feel like your greatest improvement was this week in the game, personally?
Staying on sides.
Yep, I agree.
Using my hands more, definitely.
Okay. What do you feel like the thing you got to work on this week as far as improvement after watching the video this weekend?
Staying low. Staying low and firing off the ball better.
Yeah, pad height is important. I agree. That's good.
So, 2-a-days are behind you. The focus is on the opponent each Friday evening. How's it feel to get that part of football behind you? August, the heat, 2-a-days, hit.
It's a lot better. I mean,
until you've gone through it, people don't know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And they say, 2-a-days. And then it just brings back all kinds of memories of what 2-a-days is all about. But it's one of those necessary steps that you have to take in preparation. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it,
That's right.
And so you have to do 2-a-days to get ready to play in September, like you do. So, what's the most fun about playing for Coach Hayes? Is there any fun in that?
Everything's fun. Everything's fun except for those gassers on Saturdays or whenever we run them.
But that's character building, which reminds me, Coach, I failed to ask you earlier, what's the character quality? I forgot the word that you used last week. It was character goal. What are you working on? It was, you had courage.
What was last week's character emphasis?
Yeah.
What did we talk about?
Integrity, right?
Integrity, yep.
Okay.
We had Mr. Price come talk about it. And do you remember what you read about in your lesson?
To always have good focus on what you're going to do next. If, like in the story that we read, is about a kicker, and if he missed a field goal, then he just focused about the next field goal if he was going to make it. So he just kept focused on the next big thing that he was going to do.
And the improvement. This week we're going to focus on having confidence.
Okay. How are these character goals impacting the team? Gates, how do you think overall?
They put a good thought in our head to keep just focus on what thing we're going to do.
Well, thank you for being with us today, Gates. Certainly wish you well, and wish you well against the Bruins that are coming up on Friday. And thank you for stopping by the ETN studio today.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. We'll have our final thoughts and comments from Coach Hayes right after this.
Water break!
Well, Coach, I certainly appreciate you bringing the two special guests that we had today on our show. A little bit of inside the game and inside the huddle insight for us. Beeville, I say Beeville. I lived in Bartlesville about 17 years.
Really?
So I'm very familiar with the Bartlesville Bruins.
Okay.
And I know last week they lost to Cassia Hall, which is quite a program in Tulsa, 31-23. So yeah, it's a good team. What do you know about the Bruins, and what are you doing to prepare for them?
You know, scheme-wise, they're a little bit different defensively than what we faced so far this year, and so I'm excited about attacking a different type of scheme. They're an even front, play quite a bit of a kind of a soft man coverage behind it, and so that changes what we do a little bit, and it's good for us to be able to work on some different things as we prepare for district in Choctaw the following week. Offensively, they've got a really good quarterback, and they've got a young man that starts both ways for them at corner and receiver who's received multiple Division I offers, who's an exceptional athlete, really good player. Will have an impact on the outcome of a game if you let them. And so we've got to use some wisdom as far as how we defend them offensively and how we don't attack them when we're on offense. We need to make sure we're throwing the ball in places other than necessarily where he's at. I don't want to necessarily challenge him, and we can challenge some other people instead. And so I think our offensive line should have a much better game this week just based on what they do and the type of personnel that they have. And so our running game should be pretty effective this week as well. The passing game will be a little bit different in that they give us a different secondary look, and so we'll be able to do some different things against them. And so we introduced a game plan to the kids this morning. They were pretty excited. It should be a fun week of preparation.
Well, I know during the time that I lived in Bartlesville, so much like Enid, it's a community that rallies around football. It's Friday night lights, and they enjoy that as well, and they support their team. So it'll be a great football Friday night, that's for sure. And Coach, the weeks go so quick. You really don't have time to say, "Oh, woe is me." Think about what happened last week. You got to be full steam ahead, looking at the next Friday, because the weeks are not 7 days.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're 3 days, and then boom, here's another game.
Yeah. The process is such a good life lesson, I think, for coaches and kids, in that you don't have time to feel sorry for yourself. You don't have time to mourn. What you have time to do is look at your mistakes and figure out a way to fix them. Figure out what you have control over and what you don't have control over, and take care of the things you do have control over. And what a great process for life as far as living your life well. If something doesn't work out the way you want it to work out, you need to evaluate it and apply what you learned and move on. And that's what we're doing.
And I certainly appreciate, Coach, you sharing these character goals, and I'd forgotten about it here today, but always remind me. You have the permission. You are empowered to remind me of the character goals, because I'm taking these at heart, because Tony Dungy's book is Uncommon.
Tony Dungy's Uncommon, that's correct.
And so it's a great lesson that you're putting into our student athletes, and I appreciate you doing that.
You bet.
Coach Steve Hayes is our guest on Enid Plainsmen Football 2015. I'm Steve Keim. Thank you for joining us. Enid goes all the way to Bartlesville to play the Bruins this Friday, and hope to see you there.
We'll see you next week with another insightful show with Enid Plainsmen head football coach Steve Hayes.
Inside out. Give it to him. Good job, partner. Go. Hey. Touch. Run back. Here we go. Fire off. I'll drive it. He's gonna. There you go. There you go. Good job.
Thank you for watching Enid Plainsmen Football 2015.